In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace and bleed the brake fluid on this Chevy Silverado 2500. Let's get started. The master cylinder is located on the driver's side of the engine compartment. This is the cap for it. If there is a lot of debris around it, remove it or clean it off with a rag. Mine is actually very clean, so I'm not worried about it. Once you lift up the cap, you'll see that .3 brake fluid is what you need for this braking system, so that's what I'm going to put in it. However, I like to extract all of the old brake fluid, or as much as I can, so that when I pump the brake pedal and push the brake fluid through, it basically flushes the lines and gets all new brake fluid through the system. I have this fluid extractor pump with a hose. I'm going to stick the hose down in here, and I'm just going to pump it. That's going to pull a vacuum into this reservoir, and that will, as the vacuum is accumulating, it will pull in some brake fluid. Once this fills up, I'm just going to dump it into my collection bucket so I can properly recycle it. And I'm just going to keep going until I empty out all of this reservoir. I've pretty much removed all of the fluid here. Yep, I'm just pulling up air. So at this point, I know it's not 100%, but it is most of it. I'm going to remove this, recycle my fluid appropriately, and we will fill this up to the max line, which you can see right here, with .3 brake fluid. There we go. That's much cleaner fluid here. I'm going to fill this up all the way to the max line. Might require more than one of these little containers, and then we can start bleeding. Okay, there we go. That's pretty much at the max line right here. You can see the fluid level. I will put the cap back on just so moisture doesn't make its way into the brake fluid. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, so it will absorb the moisture. Also cap off your brake fluid reservoir. On this particular truck, the sequence will be starting at the right rear wheel, so that's the passenger rear wheel, then moving on to the left rear, driver's side rear, then the right front, that's the passenger's front, and finally ending with the driver's side front wheel. If you feel that you need to repeat the procedure, go ahead and do that. I will do it once. It should be good for us. So let's start at the right rear wheel. Now, like I said, right rear wheel first. I have this reservoir with a hose on it. I recommend this because it helps you visualize the quality of the fluid as well as any air bubbles coming out. I also have a 10mm wrench ready to crack the bleeder screw open. So I'm going to put this hose on. I also have an assistant in the vehicle ready to pump up the brake pedal. You need to build up pressure in the system, and then after a few pumps, have the assistant hold pressure on the brake pedal to force the fluid out of the bleeder screw as you open it up. Go ahead and pump. I'm going to crack this bleeder screw free. As you can see, fluid is coming out. You don't need to open this a lot, just a little bit. And as soon as the pedal has reached the floor, go ahead and close this off. And we're going to repeat this process until we have no more air bubbles coming out. Go ahead and pump again. All right, let's do it one more time. That was the first clear flow. Let's do it one last time just to be safe. Go ahead and pump. All right, that is nice and clear a couple times in a row. You can let go of the brake pedal now. This is what I like to see. If you still have air bubbles after several cycles, continue bleeding it because you do not want air trapped in here. Now that I'm done, I'm going to remove my hose here. I'm going to tilt this down just so that the brake fluid can go into the collection receptacle and not spill. Once this is done, clean any debris off, and if your caliper still has the little boot, go ahead and pop it on. Unfortunately, it looks like this one is missing, so I can't cap it back off. Now let's move to the left rear wheel. Between each caliper, top off the brake fluid in the master cylinder, or at least check it to make sure that it is still close to the max line. Of course, it is better to just top it off and keep it full. You don't want to run it dry. Now we're at the left rear, that's the driver's side rear wheel. This one does have one of these little boots, so I'm going to pop that off, get my receptacle hose connected here, 10mm wrench ready. Go ahead and pump, please. All right, crack this free. Yeah, got some air on that one. Go ahead and pump again. Okay. All right. Let's do a couple more times. Go ahead and pump. Nice and clear. Brake fluid is getting a little bit lighter, so I know I'm getting some fresh fluid through the line. You can release the brake pedal now. This caliper is successfully bled. The second one on the rear usually goes a little bit faster because the line, like I said earlier, was already cleared from bleeding the other side for quite a while. Make sure that this is tightly closed. Put this cap off if you had one. Clean any brake fluid off if you spilt it. And now let's move to the passenger side front wheel. That would be the right front. All right, here we are at the right front. I'm gonna get my hose on, 10mm wrench ready. Go ahead and pump, please. Okay, holding pressure. I'm gonna release this. Ooh, that was some dark brake fluid to begin with. There we go. Close this off. Go ahead and pump again. Okay, that is nice and clean. All right, you can release the brake pedal now. I did make a little bit of a mess here, so I'm going to take some brake parts cleaner and clean it up. Make sure you have a collection bucket underneath. Rinse off your brake fluid so that you don't confuse it for a potential leak. There we go. Cap it off with that little rubber boot if you still had one. Okay, left front caliper. This is the driver's side front. This is our last one. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal. Okay. All right, go ahead and pump again. All right, let's do it one more time. I'm not seeing any air out of this. There we go, that's clean fluid, no air. So at this point, you can release the brake pedal. I'm confident that this caliper is bled. Let's clean up our mess here. Quite a bit of it leaked, as you can see, so it's important to have a collection bucket underneath to catch it in case of any leakage. I did have a little bit of spillage here, so I'm going to take some brake parts cleaner and clean it all up. Make sure it's nice and dry. You do not want to confuse this for a brake fluid leak in the future. It would be very dangerous if you actually had one. Now, top off the master cylinder again. Make sure it's nice and full. There we go, all the way to the max line. Make sure you put the cap back on so it doesn't get any moisture in it.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.